Welcome to Straight Talk Recovery. My name is Maurice Ruffin,
I'm Eric Amram.
And I'm Tom Overett.
and today we're going to talk about recovery capital. Tom has a lot of information that he wants to share in recovery. Please listen to this because it's very important for those that's in recovery, people that wants to get involved in recovery. He has a lot to share. This is very, very important information here.
So one of the things really quick is I think we need to define what recovery capital is.
I agree
Right.
with
Yeah.
So Tom, what is recovery capital in your eyes?
If I were to define it simply, I think it's the internal and external resources that a person has that sustain a lifestyle of recovery.
Yeah, I like that. It's a good definition.
Yeah.
When you say restrain, can you kind of elaborate? Sustain.
Yeah. So, for an example, let's say that a basic need or resource would be food, right? That's
Okay.
a basic need.
Okay.
So a temporary resource would be going to a food bank until we get on our own, but we
Yeah,
get
right.
an income to provide a consistent, plate on the table every day, right?
Right.
So the food bank's not a long-term solution. It's not sustainable.
Just
We wanna
temporary,
develop a
temporary.
lifestyle, which would be work to be able to keep food on our table. So
Sure.
so that's a resource that's great, but it's short-term. It's not a sustainable one.
You know, one of the things is like when I became a coach, and I think you can vouch for this back in 2017, the only place that really had recovery capital was Traverse City. Right,
Mhm.
because they had, the Phoenix House, they had the Koski House. ATS is still doing an amazing job in Traverse City. But now that the years have progressed, I mean, Gaylord, Petoskey, they have their own recovery capital, and that's really awesome because it was a very much needed resource more north than Traverse City, and it's slowly becoming its thing, right?
Okay. I would say I'm asking this question because to me, I've heard recovery capital before, and didn't really understand it. Like what is it? What do it offer? And it's just say as a person coming out of treatment,
Yeah,
how would they get to understand that?
that's a great question. So, Eric referenced community recovery capital, right? So there are resources in our community that support the recovery community, and we want to introduce people that are early in recovery to those resources so they have access to those resources to get on their feet and get going. That's community recovery capital. But I'm thinking more in the terms of the importance around our own personal recovery capital. And I look at it sort of like a bank account. It starts with our recovery, first of all, our whatever that looks like for a person.
Right.
For me, it's practicing, abstinence from drugs and alcohol. So in order to keep, once I've got that taken care of, I've made a deposit into my account. Now I want to develop a healthy lifestyle, and this is where I start working on the internal capital because I don't have any external resources. I didn't when I first started my recovery.
Right.
I was unhoused, right, unemployed, had a felony. I was basically, financially left with nothing, and I was starting with nothing. So I started with the internal stuff, and that internal recovery capital is important to build on first.
Right.
And that's when we start shaping our character and our values, and that's capital.
And I want to say this because some people would think which finances has something to do with it. But recovery capital, as I see it, is the investment you putting into your recovery.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people get looking at financial, where's the money?
Right.
Yeah.
It's you putting into your recovery, what your investment is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and what we talked in that definition that we shared at the beginning, that it's internal resources and external resources that are sustainable to supporting our recovery. And that's the key thing. So we want to really invest in things that are going to support us, not just today and in the moment for a short-term solution, but things that stay with us, that support us for a long time. And here's I always hear people say, build that life that you don't want to lose, right? That's a great statement for people that we need to hear that in early recovery because we're in the construction building process.
Right.
So that's a good first step, but what we have to do is go, what does that look like?
Yeah.
What kind of life do I want to build?
I'm glad you said that because a lot of people been in addiction for so long, they don't really know what it looks like. They don't even know what to look for, where to go. You know, it's that confusion stage I consider, which like I'm here. What's next?
Right, now what, right?
Now
right. You know, like it's crazy because it talks about taking a fearless moral inventory every day, you know, and what that looks like for me is every morning I wake up, you know, the first thing I do is I thank God I'm not dope sick. Like that is the first thing I do every morning because like that's my biggest fear, right? And then I realize I have, it's kind of like how you said, I have 100% in my bank account, right? 25% of that is mine, doesn't belong to anybody else. So I'm working with 75%, right? And ideally how it's supposed to work is once that 75 cents is depleted, now you're going to take the 25% and invest it in yourself. Like, you know, like whether it's fishing, whether it's meetings, whether it's, you know, whatever it is that makes you happy. Because in the beginning we had a life that we didn't like. So we created an alternate life with drugs and alcohol.
Right.
And that was fun until it wasn't, right? And then it became painful. And it's like, ideally what you're doing, and I like how you put it, is basically creating a life that you don't want to escape from.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? And that's very much true with people, whether you're early in recovery or whether you're later in recovery. The recovery capital is so important because it actually expands your net worth as well. Your net worth is your net worth, right?
That's right.
Yeah, back to the word sustainable too. You know, a lot of the solutions that we put in place to capital or the resources that we utilize in early recovery, they're short term and meant to be. But when it comes to constructing a lifestyle that we want, this is where the important decisions are made in discovering what it is that we want to have in our lives, that we love doing in our lives, that we value, and that we'll continue doing. That makes it sustainable. If you love doing it, you know, if you love going to meetings, great. You know, that's great. It's sustainable. But if you hate going to meetings,
it's only going to last you so far.
It's only going to last for so long. You have to find stuff that supports your healthy lifestyle.
I say that a lot to people that comes into the program. Find what you like.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't recognize like dopamines. We use drugs and that dopamines kick out, and then we call that pleasure. Okay, so I got in when I was in treatment. I played ping pong, and I love ping pong and chess. So I had played a game of ping pong, and I was so energetic. Like it was just that feeling, like man. So I knew that I had to do something to replace that me using drugs.
Yeah.
You know, so I try to play chess. You know, and I have different little things I use now. Project on the vehicle. You know what I'm saying? If I feel squirrely, I go buy a pair of shoes and I'm satisfied. My dopamines kick off. Whatever it is. Sometimes it's meetings. I double up on meetings. You know, it's just different things that I use to help me sustain my recovery.
Yeah, hitting the reward center. It's really, you know, something we all have to recognize is that, you know, it's innate for all humans to want to escape pain and discomfort and seek out comfort and pleasure, right? And drugs provided that instantly. Alcohol. But it's a temporary solution. Again.
Absolutely.
So everything that we replace substance use with should be something that brings us pleasure and brings us joy and happiness and freedom and all that kind of stuff, but also is then again sustainable. We want to bring stuff in, and sometimes we have to search for what that is. Sometimes you have to just try a whole bunch of stuff to figure out what it is you want to do.
You gotta jump around.
That's the adventure part. You know, it's scary when you're in it, but if you reframe your thinking, it's really an adventure of discovery.
And you gotta want to step out. You gotta want to be, like you said, adventurous and explore.
Yeah.
You know, that's what recovery is. We're going deep down, digging in, finding out picking up stuff. I don't want this. Boom. You know, I call it the Jacques Cousteau.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I always will share my opinion about that discovery, and people often feel lost during that adventure.
Right.
And my response to that is, if you feel lost, recognize the fact that you're now in a place you've never been before. And if you're in a place you've never been before, then you're in the process of changing.
Change.
Right.
And if you're
Exactly.
changing,
I like that.
you're
I like that.
happy.
When you that feeling of being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you stepping out.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Like man, but
Like healing is a very ugly thing. It's not meant to be pretty, you know. But what comes from it is something beautiful, you know. Like when you're talking about sustainability, you know. When I first entered recovery, I thought it was good to like work a lot of hours and love paying money and this and that, whatever, love paying rent, but physically and mentally it wasn't sustainable, and I had to quit that job because it became toxic.
right.
I wanted more money.
Yeah.
Right.
You
So,
was chasing.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
Well, and that's
Instead of investing, right?
Right.
I think it's a classic thing that a lot of us do is we transfer that addiction
Yeah.
to feed the reward system. So if we're not using substances anymore, we dive into the stuff that makes us feel good.
Good.
Right.
Work, exercise, shopping,
Yeah.
food,
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Right.
and we go in 100%. We're built that way.
Okay,
Designed that
so
way.
I have a question for you. When you said food, you looked at me. Is it like?
Oh, no, no.
I'm just kidding.
I like that. but now wait a minute. I'm gonna say this. Now, you ain't, you know, you a big fella. I got something I'm trying to lose, but hey,
Yeah, like right now I'm down to 141 pounds, and it's like it's now plateaued. So we're like, I'm just like, come on, like where's that next one? And I have to be careful, so I stopped weighing myself. I weigh myself once a month because it was coming like, how much weight did I lose today?
right,
And then
right,
like
right.
if I gained a pound because of water or whatever.
Stressing. It'll
Yeah.
be stress.
Yeah,
though.
so like
You
I
can
stepped
be
back
stressed.
from it, and I noticed that it was becoming something more. But when I stepped back from it, I actually lost more weight instead of
Not worrying about it.
right,
You know.
right. Yeah, it's definitely
know.
comforting. I was just kidding with you about that.
I was like,
Coach,
Did I do that? Did I do that? I don't remember doing that.
No,
Wasn't
you-
conscious.
Hey,
No, I was
hey,
just
I can
kidding.
say Biggie Smalls, you know, they made it possible. Fat Joe, they made
Yeah.
it possible for big guys to be beautiful.
That's
You
right.
know what I'm saying? So
That's just
you're all right,
they
bro.
call me Big Papa, right?
Big Papa.
So Tom, well, let me ask you a question, Tom. So you came from California, right? That's where you first entered recovery?
Yeah. Well, I grew up here in northern Michigan until I completed high school. And then I went off to college, and then I lived out west. And I lived on the West Coast for most of my adult life. Was introduced to recovery in 2008, February 8th.
Mm,
I went into a chemical dependency department at Hoag Hospital in Newport Beach.
okay.
And
Beach boy.
yeah.
We were just talking about that too. That's great.
I knew he was from out in Cali, out west.
Yeah, gosh, that just triggered some memories too. Back then, I had a pretty nice lifestyle and great friends, and I surfed every day, and I also partied every night. You
Right.
know, and I remember, you know, when I went to treatment the first time, they told me I had to change everything. You know, that's true.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, man, I don't want to give up surfing, and I don't want to give up my friends.
Right.
And I had to go through a lot of growth and learning on how to navigate through that. I ended up keeping those friends and continuing to surf with them every day. I just couldn't play cards, drink, and gamble.
At night.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because I was introduced to recovery in California, in Riverside, California. And
You know where Hoag Hospital is? It's down in Newport Beach, right when you shoot
well,
down the
Newport
line.
Beach is more towards LA.
Yeah, yeah.
LA.
It's Orange County. It's down.
Oh, so it's close.
It's-
Yeah, that's
Riverside's up north.
Up north, yeah. Orange County is Orange County. They got a bunch of oranges. Like so I was introduced to recovery then. I didn't take it serious. You know, for me, it was I got out of prison out there, and they put me in the sober living house, and that's what they pushed AA, NA, and AA, and you know, it was like I just want to go home. So I did what I had to do. It was a survival,
Right.
you know, but a seed was planted,
Yeah.
you know,
right.
because the people who ran the sober living house, they were very active into recovery. They was very active into social justice, you know. Vanya Corals, I'll give a shout out to you. And they introduced me to some things. They opened my eyes to make me see, like, you know, life is better, you know, but I just didn't, I still had that negative thought. You know what I'm saying? That stinking thinking was still there. It was there strong. I just wanted to get out of California after doing time out there. It was like, hey, I want to get home. And then coming and going through my phase here, when I got back, when I got up north, it kind of like came back to me, what I had.
Yeah.
You know, I missed it. Like, man, what happened?
Yeah.
You know, and so that's why I dove head first into my recovery once I got to Bear River. So it was awakening.
It's a big turning point, and I think, like you said, planted the seed. Whenever we're introduced to recovery, it's a major paradigm shift in thinking that we're not quite ready to adopt or accept.
Right.
You stay in that realm of ambivalence, wondering how I want to live my life and what I'm going to include and what I'm going to take out. And, you know, at some point, there is that jump over the fence.
Right.
You know,
that
takes place. And they refer to it in a number of different ways, but it's an exciting place to be, I think, when you get on the other side and you walk around a little bit and start to really get in tune with an authentic aspect of yourself without, you know, substances, feeling good about the little things. I mean, I never felt so good, you know, as I did in my first like 6 months of recovery and sobriety, with very little in possessions in life, other than me and my bike and cruising around, listening to the, you know, the wind, the birds, the waves, just, you know, that simple little stuff. You get in tune with.
Well, see, out there it's a little different. Like you said, the waves. You go in that ocean and hear that sound. You know.
You know, one of the things that I like, you know, like I tell people all the time is like some of the best times of my life were like having a mattress on the floor, a stolen cable, and a pizza box, right?
Right.
I mean, like for me, like I can remember multiple rock bottoms, and like that was always, you know, always a good standby. I mean, I was alone, but I was learning how to cope and things like that, you know. And it's like, you know, like I remember, like how many people you guys know Wally, and you know Wally Souls, right? You know, like he's one of my mentors, and he would always say, like when I would say, you know, like, Wally, I messed up, and he goes, congratulations, you didn't mess up, you're growing. How can you think that's a bad thing? And it's like, it's so painful. And he goes, well, look at how much pain you survived. Right. And like, he always has a way of just putting it in perspective for a lot of people, you know.
Wally's amazing.
Like I actually met him when he was his own recovery capital. They had Wally Wednesdays. Remember that Incest?
Yeah.
He would sit there and just talk to the people that were dosing to make them feel more comfortable that they're dosing methadone, right? And that's actually how I met him. Like, he was there for me since day zero.
And I would say, like, that pain that we have, say when we relapse or something like that, and the guilt hurts
Shame
us.
and guilt.
Man, it kills us. But to have someone say, hey, mistakes gonna happen, you just don't linger in it. You don't stay in there. That phase, you keep pushing, knowing that you was here, you went over, you went back, but get back over there. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, jump back in there, get in the game. You know.
You mentioned, I mean, we're all talking about the pain component that would drive us back to use. I think one of the biggest discoveries I got to find on my own that I love to share is around pain. I definitely avoided it at all costs. Who doesn't want to get rid of pain, right?
Right.
But you know, especially with grief and loss, with, I lost some family members and stuff over the last few years. And in recovery and sobriety, in the moment of experiencing the pain, I got to reframe how I was looking at it. It wasn't actually because of the grief and loss. It was because I was being separated from my kids. The trip was ending, and I started to cry, and I was broken down. I was overwhelmed with all these powerful emotions. And then remembering that it was what used to drive me to drink, the pain of separating from my kids. When I was able to grab a hold of the fact that it wasn't pain, it was actually love that was too overwhelming for me to understand, you know?
Yeah.
And when I reframed it as love, I sat in it and I got to the other side. And it's helped me look at every other discomfort that I experience, recognize it for what it is, and then recognize the value of me being able to experience it and walk through it.
Yeah.
And
I agree with that.
I'm going to say one thing. The love we get from family and friends out there, people who get on straight, that drives me.
Yeah.
That drives me. That drives me when this event, we come up with an event, I'm pushed. That it kicks off.
There's people watching this?
Well, this is a recording.
This is a recording. They will be watching this. They will be seeing you on here. And it drives me. I know he got one.
Hey, he got.
No, wait a minute. Is somebody in there? Yeah, somebody in there. Yeah, Tom. Somebody in there.
Hello, world.
But briefly, Tom, I would like for you to you did kind of share about where you were, as far as in recovery. In California. Just to let people know, we work with Tom, and he's very much in tune with recovery here up north. And just briefly share with them, like, kind of what you do.
Sure. Yeah. So I am so fortunate to have been given every opportunity that I have. I mean, and there are countless people that have helped me get these opportunities, So I do get to work full time for Bear River Health. I work out of the Human Resources Department as the Employee Integration Specialist. And what that means is that I get to work with all new staff members that come into Bear River, regardless of their role, as well as any staff members that make a seat change or move within their organization. And really just to make sure that they're aligned properly with supervision and that they're happy and successful and in the right seat. It's a great role that I love. And I also am an employee of NEMSAS, or Northern Michigan Substance Abuse Services, formerly anyway. I'm a trainer for them. I train their core recovery coach program, sometimes ethics and advocacy programs. And then I also have been very fortunate to be invited to serve on the board of a few recovery community organizations. I serve on the board for CRA out of Petoskey. And I also, I'm on the board for Facing Addiction Now, the Otsego County chapter. And then Recovery Notes, which is a musical platform out of Petoskey.
I want you to share Recovery Notes.
Sure. Yep.
Please share Recovery Notes.
Yeah, Recovery Notes, it's really neat because it organically grew out of Bear River Health.
Okay.
A few guys that had some strong musical talents, along with a gentleman that worked for Bear River or supported Bear River that had recording experience. And they got together and decided they wanted to throw some music together, record it, and it turned into, let's do a little show. And then we got tied in with some community advocates like Tom McHale, Tori Worth, and we built a nonprofit organization, a 501c3, where we can showcase people in recovery or their allies, showcase their musical talents, their poetry, stand up, and stuff like that. And it's done monthly, every second Sunday of the month, up at the Crooked Tree Arts Center or the Carnegie Building in Petoskey.
And there's so many talented people that are in recovery. Like I've met some of the most remarkable, some of the most talented, some of the most loving people that have some of the most heinous pasts. It's because they learn from their mistakes. They learn from the pain. And like I remember I went to I think you were there too, and like we heard like this poem, and like it brought tears to my eyes. It's just how powerful the poem was about addiction. Like that person really hit the nail on the head, and you know, like there's just so many remarkable people.
Yeah.
You know, that society is just thrown away, and it's like, welcome back. You know,
There's it serves to provide a lot to the recovery community. You know, people getting and expressing themselves like that is an absolute beautiful thing. Two big things that I get to notice, because I've been the MC for that show for a few years now, and I get to be right there when people are doing their stuff. And what is beautiful to me is hearing people share that, you know, they were playing their guitar all the time or playing the piano all the time, and then their addiction took over and they put the instrument down.
Right.
And then in recovery again, they picked it back up, and they're very talented.
And that's hard.
And that's a sustainable
Yes.
thing, right? To support
Right.
the recovery. The other thing that I just wanted to share was a lot of people want to get up there and be vulnerable and share poetry or something.
Or sing.
And 90% of it is probably being vulnerable and sharing what's going on inside. The other thing is standing in front of an audience of over 100 people and sharing that.
like
getting
your
on stage.
people, it's over
Your
100.
people. It's
Your
scary.
people, right? Yeah.
And
For
and
sure.
I know the first time I went,
That's
I
walking
thought it
through
was-
fear.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I thought it was amazing, because there is some talented people, and because of the drugs and alcohol took their lives, you know, they gave it away pretty much, during that period of addiction.
Yeah.
But when they be in recovery, you know, here it is, they getting that passion
That
back.
second
You
chance,
know what I'm
right?
saying? They're getting their passion back.
Come to life.
Yeah, recovery. Jacques Cousteau, they dug deep and brought it up. And when they display that, because at the Carnegie, this was 2 months ago, they had it, and some lady got up there and she sang, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like this
You
is
would never have known that she had pipes like that.
seriously, it was,
Yeah.
and then the guy came through one time, he played the piano. And this was at the building next door from the Carnegie.
Mhm.
And he was like, I'm hearing Mozart. I mean, I was like, what the heck? You know, with some talented people, and that drugs and alcohol take their passion away, and interfere with their lives. But that recovery notes, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I really do. I really love that.
Yeah. Sean Baxendale has been chairing that, leading that, president of the organization. He does a beautiful job keeping it together.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's definitely cool because like when someone loses the passion, right? It's the disease that takes them away from it.
Right.
And it's almost like they're relearning their passion. And it's a lot more fun this time because like now you are feeling everything. Like when you come out of addiction, you're like an exposed nerve, right? And it's just a matter of maintaining that sense of normalcy. But like one of the things that I got from Recovery Notes is that if you can't be vulnerable around your own people, then who can you be vulnerable around?
That's true.
You know,
Yeah.
like no one should be judging anybody or anything like that.
Well,
That's a
I
firewalk, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's to me, it's showing that recovery is fun.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like life is getting better. You know,
You're
you still
creating a
can
life you
enjoy.
want to escape from.
Yeah, you can enjoy life without the drugs and alcohol.
Yes.
I sleep better.
Yep.
Shit, I ain't gonna lie. I sleep good. Didn't want to get up this morning, fellas. I'm gonna tell you. But I like to welcome you, Tom. I thank you so much
Yeah,
for
man.
coming on the show,
Appreciate it a
man.
lot.
I think this was a big plus for us to have you here. I'm definitely,
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
you know. So we like, you want to give a shout out to somebody. You want to say hey to somebody out there.
Well, Yeah, just in general, hello, Northern Michigan.
Are you
We
in
have a
there?
Great recovery community.
Right.
This is, the landscape has changed in Northern Michigan over the last decade. And I've been able to witness it, and we need to embrace it, support it. Any way we can step up as individuals to join in and support the
Right.
existing organizations.
Yeah,
Reach out if you have ideas of your own to establish initiatives that support recovery. And thanks for doing the show.
All right.
guys. Yeah.
yeah. So I want to give a shout out to Wally and Jenny Souls. Wally's been my mentor for going on 11 years now. And Jenny is Wally's brand new wife. She is such a remarkable woman. She works for Munson in the addiction recovery field.
Okay.
So I want to say congratulations on your wedding. I love you both very much. What about you, Mo?
Okay, I want to give a shout out. I have a nephew down in the Grand Rapids area. He do detailing. You can reach him at 616-633-5009. His name is Braylon Mays.
He does great work. He's
Great
work.
and he'll tell you his prices.
Yeah.
I would just say that. Call him and contact him. I like to give a shout out to KD. Come on, man. We know you're at work right now. But
Come on, Keith.
we're gonna have to come on. You got to get back on the show, bro. You know what I'm saying? Just shout out to you, love you, man. And cuts for recovery. To Nico, I'm gonna give you a shout out, bro.
Nico, we'll get you
Keep
on here
it up.
soon, brother. We
We're
promise.
glad that you tuned in to Straight Talk Recovery. We love you guys. Thanks and peace.
Peace.
Go.